Hey everyone, today we have IG-12 and Grogu from The Mandalorian Season 3. I think this has been a pretty highly anticipated figure, not necessarily for the IG-12 of it all, but just to get an IG droid as a new sculpt, since as we know, that previous sculpt was really outdated and just pretty terrible. So this opens the door for a new IG-11, a new IG-88. So let's go ahead and get this open and see how this compares to previous releases, as well as like the SH Figuarts and Mayfex IG-11 figures. So the moment of truth, how well does this stand straight out of the package? I would say it's about a C. I think it's like easier to stand than a battle droid or like K2SO, a little bit harder to stand than the super battle droid. The joints, especially at the ankles, don't feel super tight and it is a little bit wobbly. Also, it's just going to be top heavy, just kind of like by its nature. As far as the articulation, this is a little tricky right here, so just be careful once you bend it. I don't know why it kind of was snagging. It didn't happen on the other leg, but just something to keep in mind so you don't snap anything. And then of course be careful of these like little rubber wires. They seem pretty sturdy, but you know, just you never know. We've got a 360 at the waist here, and then in terms of the legs, we have this ball joint at the thigh that gets you decent articulation. You know, you don't really see IG-12 doing that much in the show other than just sort of walking around, but you know, that is there. No torso swivel because we've got all of that space in there for Grogu. And then I guess kind of just what you would expect at the arms, like a ball joint that has pretty decent past 90 at the elbow. And at the head, we have 3 different points of articulation, so you can kind of get his quote-unquote eyes or nose or whatever you want to call him facing in different directions. And the chest piece does open, so you can get Grogu in there or an Anzellan. And then these little joysticks are on ball joints, so you can twist them around and just move them around a little bit to make sure that everything looks right. But let's take a look at the accessories here. No weapons with this one, so if you were hoping to kind of have this as your like IG-11 figure or something, you know, there's no guns, but I do have to say, you know, this is pretty scene specific, and I'm not going to cut this part here because I just want to show you guys kind of like that the ankles still can be a little bit tricky, so just something to keep in mind. Here is Grogu. We've got plenty of Grogus in the Black Series. We've got arms on slight little ball joints here, but with a peg, so like that's about as much range as you get, and then the head is pretty tightly on that ball joint there, so like you can't get too much range, but you don't really need that much range. And then same with the Anzellans, but we actually have like a little bit of a waist swivel here, and then the same thing with the arms, because you could also pose these in the chest, which we will test a little bit later in the video as well. And just to compare, here is the Babu Frick that came with C-3PO in The Rise of Skywalker, so we've got the eyes are a little bit more open, and then of course just like totally different color palette and sculpt here. Let's go ahead and get Grogu inside. I think it's easiest if you put the arms up first, you tuck the ears in one at a time, and then I do have to say it was pretty tricky to get the actual joysticks in his hands. I wasn't able to do that even with several minutes of messing with it. Of course this looks pretty fine for a shelf, just having his hands floating there, but I was a little bit surprised to see that that wasn't a little bit more well engineered. And then same thing with the Anzellans. They are really small, so if I wanted to display that like this, I would probably do a little bit of black tack underneath, and I think that would be the way to go. So yeah, I was a little disappointed in how both of those worked, and I forgot to mention earlier that he does have finger articulation, so you can have him holding one of the Anzellans like I'll show you at the end of the video, or if you did want to bring in some weapons, that might make them a little bit easier to hold. And of course we have to do some size comparisons here. So here is the new Glavis Ringworld Mando. This does have the Mayfex head, so if you watched my review of that, you'll see how I put that together. And then the original IG-88, which is just so, you could see how warped it's been just from being in storage, because that's where it belongs. So I've had the Mayfex and the SH Figuarts IG-11s for a while, and I think they are both amazing. The Figuarts is pretty large. The Mayfex is the one that I actually have on display, and you can see how nice they look. They look much more metallic. The sculpt is much cleaner. I still am going to be displaying the Mayfex IG-11, even though this IG-12 is cool. You know, I wasn't too crazy about the scene, and I just think the sculpt on the Mayfex is the best. And if you guys have been following my channel for a while, you know that I've been going through my entire displayed collection here, just going shelf by shelf, so go ahead and check those out if you haven't already. The next video will be the Mandoverse, like Disney Plus era shelf, which I haven't gotten to yet, but there's so much to talk about here, as well as just so many updates from the shelves above, so make sure you subscribe and stay tuned for that. I'm sorry I haven't gotten to it, it's just been a really busy time of my life currently. I actually have another brand new Black Series figure ready to review, which I'll probably also try to get done this weekend. I'm sure most of you know, but I run a Patreon where where I design STL files so you can 3D print dioramas to display your action figures. So I just finished like the cantina, and we're actually building this out a little bit more very soon. So we're gonna have all the alcoves and that sort of thing to continue that. And then we also just did Wooher, the bartender, if you have a resin printer. We finished the Falcon last month. This all prints using AMS, so like if you have that machine, you don't have to do any painting. And then I did this little catwalk here that is actually inspired from the game Star Wars Outlaws, which I've been playing through with what little free time I can muster up. And we always try to have designs that are kind of appropriate for whatever figures are coming out. So like that R5 droid, the Darth Maul that's coming up, the new Bosque release, the Acolyte figures, Anakin and Padme from The Phantom Menace. You guys get it. Anyway, thank you all for watching. I hope you did enjoy this video. Let me know if you're going to be picking up this figure, if you're going to wait for like hopefully some reuse with this body with a proper IG-11 or IG-88, since I think both of those are a little bit more iconic than this mostly scene-specific version of IG-12. But anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. Subscribe if you are new, hit that like button if you did enjoy the video, and I will see you all next time.